contest and also introducing me. And thanks for everyone for being patient so far. I mean, this is the last session, and I understand that the energy level has gone down. So I hope that you'll just keep yourself awake for 15 minutes, not more than that. So we'll try and be brief in terms of my presentation. I was planning to show a video uh, towards the end of presentation, but we'll see. I mean, it's like it depends totally on the kind of interest you have while seeing that video. So in this sense, this particular session, the whole session is slightly unique because we are planning to use video. We use video in one way or the other. So I mean, as Jim said, that we are working around developing teachers. So we say that STIR, as a STIR, we are empowering teachers to be change maker, and we feel that the teachers has the most crucial role in terms of children, what they do either inside the school or outside. Uh, and one of the reasons, what Jim rightly said, that one of the reasons of children being out of school is their low learning. And so just to start with, probably I'd love to share a story, which is a real story, which we came across while our, one of our field visits in UP. So there is a, there is a boy called Praveen. It's not the real name. There is a boy in UP. His father puts him in school, in a government school. And after he completed his primary education, he dropped out and went out of school. So he stopped coming to school. His father, with all the hope, he just sent him to school, but he came after 5 years of the schooling, came to teacher and said to teachers that you fail me. Uh, my kid doesn't come to school because he is not learning anything. So you just fail me. So the teacher abruptly said that the son of a donkey can only be a donkey. Uh, so this kind of attitude uh, pushing a lot students to go out, I mean be out of school. And it's so these kind of children who are in the school but not learning are the real matter of concern now. So the out of school children is true, this is really a serious matter, but there are so many children, million of them are at the verge of getting out of school if they are not learning. So just to show the magnitude of the problem, especially I'll focus on the Indian context. So there are close to 30 million kids in a school in India who goes to school. And the access is 96%, I mean it's close to 100%. And children are in school, but if you see the number of teachers, 8 million teachers, 1 point, close to uh, 1 million, slightly more than 1 million schools and 300 million children. But on the other side of the story, 1 out of the 4 teacher on any given day in India is absent out of school. I mean, he's not in the school because of any reason. I mean, it's not maybe because of the official responsibility or administrative work or personal reason. 1 out of 4 is absent on any given day. 75% children cannot do simple division. And the reading outcomes are appalling. So these are all the serious concerns which brings the whole theory of change of STIR in the limelight, and we started thinking like how to address this problem. So it's a kind of it's a kind of freedom struggle for all of us. Second freedom struggle. So the STIR education, why STIR education? So how to address the root causes of this. So some of the components, probably there are so many, but some of the components we highlighted, I'm trying to highlight here. One of them is most paramount is the low parental engagement, which teachers says that parents are not engaged in the students in their wards. That's why students are not improving in their learning. Teachers training and motivation. I mean the second, which is one of the core component which STIR tries to address, is the teacher's motivation. So this is the second component. And third, obviously, so this classroom practice, so even if the teacher is motivated, teacher is not supported enough to improve the classroom practices. Assessment is again something which is very complex. If you look at the CC or other things, so there are a lot of, I mean, teachers are complaining or doing a lot of things. So I mean, the whole process of assessment is also something is in question. And there are other factors which are external, maybe of that, especially the girls' education component, where the security is an issue, access to school is an issue. So there are so many other factors which comes under external factor. So, so what we believe that is a scale problem. It's not the problem of lack of resources. This is the problem of scale. So, uh, solutions are there that exist, but how to scale those solutions is something important. So to go with this, we started thinking on three components. How teacher could we think of a solution, not a problem? Often teachers are demotivated and they are blamed for low learning outcome. And there have been, so one thing Sir could understand very early in like, so we completed 4 years of our research, and we started in 2012. This year we completed 4 years. And very early in our development phase, we understood that the general, I mean, universal carrot and stick method will not help teachers to develop. The personal incentives or setting accountability on any personal teacher for any problem in children learning outcome, or maybe the out of school children issue, will not solve the problem. We'll have to develop, we'll have to build a social capital of teachers. And we'll have to, I mean, we'll have to create a kind of a structural incentive system, or maybe the recognition of the teachers, and incentivize them, maybe with overall practice by building their social capital, not the individual teacher focus. There have been some attempts been done. So there are three components. One is communication, which is critical. Second, there is a lack of collaboration in teachers. So if you see the teachers on the other class, what she's doing, the other teacher in the class doesn't know what's happening out there. So there is complete lack of collaboration. And third thing is the mindset. So these three components are things of addressing while doing this journey with the teachers. There are some research evidences which shows that why social capital is important to develop kind of professional capital. I mean, in human capital component, why the social and professional capital, how it plays the role. I would not go into this detail. I mean, these books are very much available, so probably that might help in understanding. So what we are trying to do actually, so what is our theory of change? What are we thinking of doing this? So we are trying to create a kind of a starfish model, starfish ecosystem. So starfish is just opposite to the spider system, right? So spider is something sitting in the central and controlling the all the tentacles. Whereas starfish, each and every tentacle has authority to decide the way the tentacle wants to behave. Generally, in the systems like in if you take an example of the India education system, you'll find there is a lot of Spider-Man styles. So something designed at the central level being pushed to, so a lot of top-down approach is there. With this model, we are trying to create a kind of bottom-up. So instead of sending everything from up, why can't we ask teachers what really helps in their scenario? Because each and every teacher's context is different. Something which works in one teacher's context may not work in other teacher's context. So with this, we started finding out the teachers who are really doing some innovative practices in their classroom. We call them bright spot, and to reach out to those teachers, we taken a kind of micro innovation as a kind of proxy. So through these micro innovations, we reach to those teachers, and we identify those teachers and document their micro innovation and recognize them for their good practices. So that's how the whole batch creation process starts. And then with this, we create a kind of movement. So we just started this. Currently, we are working with 12,000 teachers. Very soon we'll start working with another 20,000, and by 2020, our aim is to work with 100,000 teachers, and again 4 million kids. So, so how we do that? So it's a kind of, as I said earlier, that we are trying to build a kind of social capital of teachers by giving them a chance to collaborate, share, and learn from each other. So for that, we create a kind of teacher changemaker network, which is a very local unit of teachers at the cluster level. If some of you might be, aware of the kind of the administrative structure in the education system. So cluster is a combination of 12 to 15 schools and some 120 teachers. So this is a network, we call this teacher changemaker network. This is 35 teachers network. And we take these teachers to 3 years journey. What we call 3 years journey is as 3 stages. These 3 stages are 3 years. The year 1 is called Ignite. Ignite has 3 components. First is identifying micro innovations and whereby identifying the bright spots. Then second, around these micro innovations, they'll create a kind of group of network, changemaker network. They implement, these teachers implement those micro innovations in the classroom, share on monthly basis in the group, and also in the next cycle, in 4 month cycle, they influence another teacher or the community member to get involved the whole learning process of 5 weakest kids. So the year 1 is more of building their mindset and motivation, working on the shared challenge, and pushing a lot of focus on collaboration, share, and learning. We, in a way, we prepare teachers to take the solutions. I mean, if you really want to offer solution to a teacher, the first question is, are they ready to take those solutions? Because somewhere they are demotivated, they don't want to take their solution. So 1 year we try and build their mindset from fixed mindset to growth mindset journey. So we are working with Columbia University on that. How to, Carol Dweck is one professor there, she is working with us on that, how to develop a kind of growth mindset in teachers and also in kids, how to transfer that in kids. In year 2, which we call integrate, we then offer them a kind of challenge. So we ask teachers to take challenge. So the first year is more of working on classroom culture. There is a lot of issue of classroom culture. The classroom setup itself is not conducive to learning. So we offer some principles to these teachers. I mean, these are only suggestive. So STAR is pedagogy agnostic. So we don't offer any pedagogy. We offer them some suggestive activities, and teachers might choose the way they want to implement in their classroom. So the second year is more on building their classroom culture, building their practices, mutual respect, security, and all these components. And year 3 is on reading. So how to improve reading, because reading is a challenge, early grade especially, and also the mid grade reading. So how to improve reading. So around these principles we have our group of organizations who are expert in reading. So we work with them. I mean, like Pratham, Room to Read, and all these organizations work with us to develop those contents. So this is how 3 years journey goes, and by end of 3 years, we believe that the teachers themselves will take this journey forward, and they'll just lead a kind of movement, and we are trying to reach to a kind of 10% tipping point of the total teacher base of any place where we are working. So right now we are working in India and Uganda. In India, we are working with some 10,000 teachers and 5,000 teachers in Uganda. So we are trying to reach to 10% these motivated slots, so that there might be a kind of viral effect of having this 100% teachers and becoming a kind of mass movement for change. So this kind of this kind of detailed journey, what we really offer in different years, we'll just pass this on maybe as a presentation, and if there is any question on that, probably I can just take on email. So around this, the whole journey, we also have a kind of recognition, what I've shared earlier. So at every path of the development, if you see the Innovator Certificate, so there is, the left side of this is teachers, and these are the stages. So the teacher first stage become innovator. Then if she implements the idea, there are criteria, 3-4 criteria of qualifying these components. So become implementer, then influencer. The teacher who gets all these 3 components, we call this teacher a kind of change maker. So that's how there are 5 stages. So associate change maker, lead change maker, fellow Changemaker and distinguished fellow Changemaker. We have a collaboration with Roehampton University, UK, who offers certificate with to these teachers. They do due diligence and finally they give them certificate. We are also having kind of very close partnership with the government there. So it's a kind of collaborative certification process. We are still figuring out how to use this certificate to, uh, I mean, use this certificate for the performance of teachers, so appraisal and the promotion and all these things, but it's not, still is under consideration, but we are looking forward to have that as a kind of part of systemic recognition process so that teachers might get benefit of these certificates in their promotions postings. So as I said earlier, this is our theory of change. So teachers are the end user, and we believe that the teachers, if they get motivated, they probably improve the learning outcome children. But this is not only the problem. I mean, it's not only teachers' motivation. Once teachers get motivated and they start doing things, there are policy makers around. And there is a habit, especially the local policy levels, policy makers, they have a habit of seeing things in the set parameters what they believe in. So I quickly would like to share an instance. I was having discussion with Jim over the lunch table. So there is a concept of a school inspector in India. So school inspector is supposed to go to school and suspend teacher. I mean, this is what he does. And so I mean, I also experienced the same thing. So one of my teacher, he was 1 year in our journey, and so motivated teachers, he just changed the classroom setup. It was not linear. So he made a kind of cluster sitting in the classroom. And that gentleman came, when I was sitting there, he came and he said, "What are you doing this? I mean, it's like you will just, my officer will come and shout on me, how your classroom is so dirty and all these things." And that teacher immediately went back to the classroom and she started just putting on all the tables and chairs in a proper manner. I mean, proper manner in his sense, not in her sense. And so it's very important to create an ecosystem where there is a permission to innovate. If really teacher wants to innovate, there is no permission to innovate. So how to build that ecosystem of permission to innovate? We are creating a kind of policymaker network. So there are bright spot policymakers in the system. We are creating local change maker policymakers, policy change maker network, who could enable these teachers to really implement and take part in this journey. So with this, setting up a kind of mutual accountability on both, on teachers and also the policymakers. It's not only teachers' responsibility, it's also the policymakers' responsibility. So to develop these policymakers' mindset and motivation again, we are working with Institutes of Education, University College of London, to develop a kind of system leadership journey. And these officials will undergo this 3 years program of system leadership journey. And they themselves, like there is a kind of local action group. We have created a kind of local action group where these local officials, teachers, and some SMC members will be part of that. And these local action group will take a project and they'll implement that project in their area, come back and share once in 3 months, and then do the course correction, mid-course correction, go back and see again. To understand whether this program is going in the right direction or not, we have some anecdotal evidences, and probably I'll just show the videos. 6 minutes video is not very long. Teachers themselves feel that this is really helping them to get motivated. And we do have anecdotal evidences that teachers' motivation gone 40% in 1 year high. So in 1 year, there is kind of 40% increase in teachers' motivation who are really being part of these networks. And also there is impact on the children learning outcome. So this is what the story is. And also to understand what really motivates teacher, what are the non-financial incentives which really motivates teacher, we have launched a RCT being done by ID Insight, one third party. So we got a kind of, we got a grant, Social Impact Evaluation Fund, World Bank Defeat Fund, to understand whether what really motivates teacher. So we are doing an RCT, just we completed the baseline, and we'll get the results probably to understand like what really motivates teachers. So there are bundles around this. We are doing a community recognition component. So I mean our education leaders, who are the government officials who run the network, who are responsible to run these networks. Actually we generally our one staff, study staff works with 600 teachers. And there are 20 education leaders who runs the network. And these education leaders are the government officials. So to sustain this model, we are trying to embed the whole model in teachers training structure, which is called BRC and CRC structure, if some of you would be knowing. So there is academic support structure, so we are trying to re-energizing the role of that structure, whereby this could be embedded properly in the system and this journey could sustain. So now questions are invited. Thank you.